a story that was in my head for a long time, and I started writing it years ago, and there was a instance that happened where I had about 50 or 60 pages written, and my laptop literally burned up, and I lost it, and then I didn't go back to it for years, for several years, and when I sat down to write it, it just flowed out, and I wrote it all within a matter of a couple of months. I wrote, a couple hundred pages, and put it out, and I really, my whole reason for doing it, I wanted to tell the story. I wanted the story to be out there. I felt like it needed to be told. But the only reason why I actually went as far as publishing it was because I wanted that hard copy, or as a paperback, but I wanted that copy of a book in my hand that I could hand to my son and say, this is a keepsake. Your dad wrote this, and you can show your kids this someday.
I love that.
I never expected, to have people pick it up and read it and write these amazing reviews on it and to, have book signings. And, I just got a message from someone on Facebook that I really don't know. You know how it is when you have so many Facebook friends.
Yeah.
But I got a message on Facebook that said, I saw your book at Barnes & Noble the other day, and I'm going to pick it up. And I was like, oh, great, where did you see it? Because they just kind of randomly pop up in different places.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in Alaska. And I thought, wow, how did it show up in Alaska? It popped up earlier this year, or last year, I guess, down in San Antonio, Texas. I don't know how it got there, but, because I never really pitched it to Barnes & Noble. The local one carries it and sells quite well. But
right.
But for these, remote states to be, for just to be showing up on the shelves is mind-boggling a little bit. And then all the things that come along with it, like I said, the book launch and book signings and seminars that I've been asked to do, and like I was invited this weekend for a couple of different things. I'm going to PopCon here in Evansville,
mm-hmm.
which is
cool.
a convention sort of thing, and to touch on something we touched on during commercial break. I have the pleasure of being at PopCon with Naomi Grossman, who played on American Horror Story.
Yes, I love that show.
And
by the way.
It's a great show. She has a reoccurring character every season.
Yep.
And then I'll be doing that on Friday night, and then later in the weekend, I'm actually going up to the location where my third book is being written about to do a little more investigating and actually to do some filming for a television show. And I'm fairly excited about that as well. The show, I don't know if I have permission to talk about it, so I'm not going to give any details. But it is a show on a large network, worldwide network, and it's a reality show. It's not a drama or anything. It's an interview.
Yeah.
Discussing the history and our findings and things like that. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, that's probably okay. I like to say that as long as, so basically one of the reality shows has perhaps invited you on at some point to do an interview was it about your last book or your first book or an upcoming project?
It's about my upcoming book that I'm currently planning and writing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes, it's about the final installment of my trilogy, about that location and the history behind it. And this TV show is not it's not what people are probably thinking of being, a paranormal TV series that's been on for, years and years, and has the main star guy or anything. Not that kind of a thing. This is actually a very a serious network, and a fairly serious show. It's looking into the histories behind some of these incredible locations across the U.S. And when they decided they wanted to do a show about this particular location, they found out that I was writing a book about it and that I had written others. And they actually, I just got off the phone with the producer before the radio show, who asked, what times I would be available this weekend. And so it's
that's great.
I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but basically,
no, it's exciting. You can never go off on a tangent on Ghost Chat Radio. You should know that our fans live for tangents. That's why we're a 2-hour show.
Right. But all these things are nothing that I anticipated.
Wait. Yeah.
We're actually a 2-hour show because clothes are optional here, and I think we're the only show out there that has a clothes option.
Yes. We are.
Well, Jason, I'll let you know something. They're all clothing optional, but the hosts don't know it. Because every show I'm on, it's always clothing optional. I'm just saying.
Well, we do Naked Ghost Chat Radio once a month, and we never tell the guests. Isn't that right, Jay? I mean, right? You never know. Just so you know, everyone, we never tell the guests which night is Naked GCR. We never tell. Only Jay and I know that. And it's usually the show where we laugh a lot while the show's going on. Jason and I just laugh a lot while it's going on, and you guys just never know why.
It's all good. I got a question for you, Rick.
Yeah.
Do you think you would work okay under a tight schedule with writing? Let's just say French Point decided to crack the whip and said, Rick, we need you to pump out a book every 6 months. Do you think that you could write under that kind of pressure?
Depends on how much money was involved.
Yeah, but wouldn't it affect the quality of your writing, you guys? I mean, it would.
That's the whole point. That is the whole point. The only way that I could do that is if there were huge amounts of money involved, because I know I would be selling out.
Because publishing has become big business. I mean, I think that hurts the integrity and quality of anyone's work. I mean, that's just me.
It's true. It's true. Even Stephen King has pumped out books in the past that said, really? Did you have to go to the last minute to start writing?
There's no question that, if you're under a contract that you have to put out so many books in so many years, that some of them could be questionable as far as their quality. I made the joke about, depending on how much money was involved, because there would have to be a lot of money involved for me to even entertain that idea, because, I don't write books for anyone really but myself. I mean, that's why I write. I don't write as a career. I mean, I would love it if that was my career, but it's not. But I write for myself because I love to write. But for someone to tell me you have to write, a book every 6 months or, whatever, then that kind of takes the pleasure out of it for me. And kind of like we mentioned earlier, I may go weeks and weeks without writing anything. So if I'm forced to write without being inspired, it kind of takes away from the whole experience of being a true author.
Right.
In my opinion. Now I know that there probably are some very prolific writers who can pump out a book every 6 or 8 months and be good, but not everyone's a Dean Koontz or a Dan Brown,
right?
Or Stephen King. And even Stephen King, like Jason mentioned, I've read several of his books, and some of them, you finish the last chapter and you're like, wow, that was Stephen King.
Yeah,
you're
like, really? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, now I know why you went into the pseudonym there for a while.
Yeah, and maybe it was a case of, I mean, who are we to say? We don't really know, but I mean, who's your favorite author, Rick? And why?
Oh gosh.
What do you think?
Probably, honestly, I'm going to have to go back to the. Dan Brown was really good, but I honestly, my favorite has always been and probably will always be J.R.R. Tolkien. And it's just because he created a fantasy world that was so believable and so detailed that it was easy to get lost in this book that was totally unrealistic and believe it.
Yeah.
Now,
I
there are authors
him.
out there. Yeah, there are authors out there that can make you believe their books, but most of them are based in the real world. You know, whenever you get into something that's that fantastical, and it still draws you in and makes you believe that these things are really happening, and you feel what's going on in the book. You know, that's a true artist, and
it is.
You know,
it is.
It's just a shame he didn't write more.
No, I loved all of his books, and those are books I have read several times over, you know, since I was a kid. Yeah. My favorite author has always been Ray Bradbury. That's always been my favorite.
Yeah.
I have always loved his books. He was always my favorite. How about you, Jay? You have a favorite author?
Jay doesn't have time to read.
Penthouse Forum? I don't know. I'm teasing you. He does. He has a favorite. I'm sure he does. Jay actually does have time to read sometimes, and he reads some deep shit sometimes. I know he does. But is there anything special? What are you reading lately, Rick? Anything that you're reading kind of lately?
Well, I did read a book that was passed on to me. That I really found fascinating, and it's called The Mutant Message Down Under by Marlo Morgan, and I've never heard of her before, but a friend of mine sent me the book, and it is mostly nonfiction, but it has some fictional elements in it, and it's brilliant. It's really well written, and the story is fantastic.
Interesting.
It's a very spiritual journey.
That.
Yeah, and I hadn't either. Whenever they said, "Had you read this book?" And I was like, "I've never heard of it." Who is Marlo Morgan? But as I read it, and the more I got into it, you know, it's got some great messages in it, and it's really a very fascinating book. I don't have a lot of time to read, unfortunately. I have a full-time career that I work about 60 hours a week at. Plus I do, you know, radio shows, I do live appearances and book signings, and I try to write. I try to write. I'm supposed to write a magazine article about once a month, which I didn't get to last month because I was just too busy. And then, of course, I do the journal investigations. I'm also a human relations commissioner for the city of Evansville, which takes up some time.
I saw that.
So I do a lot of political events and things like that. So I unfortunately I'm one of those people Jason was talking about who just doesn't have time to read. I hope
hard.
to someday.
Well, then you got to squeeze your personal life in there. I mean, somewhere, you know.
What is that?
What is that? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm with you. There. I know what you're talking about.
My book would be
like
perfect for you.
Tomorrow night.
Jason's
tomorrow
book
night
is perfect for you. You can just leave it in the bathroom.
Oh, there you go. I could read it. I could read it in the morning while having my morning.
That's what you
can, and you will be done with it by the end of the week, and you'll say, "Jay, thank you for bestowing that amazing story upon me."
I will have to keep that in mind, and I'll have to keep that on the back of on the lid.
You guys will have to trade. You guys will trade. Yes, there you go.
There you go.
Perfect.
There you go.
So, I mean, what do you guys think television is responsible for illiteracy, like with the kids?
No. I don't think television is responsible for illiteracy. In all honesty, I don't think we have an issue with illiteracy. I think politics have driven the country into some kind of social obedience where people feel the need to live a particular lifestyle where they are crammed with engaging in, you know, social time with their kids and you know, planning specific things with them and doing a specific job and doing this and doing that. That's what I think it is.
I told you he was deep. See, I told you. It's not because he reads Penthouse and Forum. See.
I think.
people
Yeah,
do.
I think you make a good point there, Jason, and I think